All right, folks. So we are going into this advice segment. However, you should know that myself and Ileana are licensed attorneys in the state of California. If you are not residing in the state of California and you're coming to us seeking our advice, or you're turning to this channel looking for some direction without coming physically to us or speaking to an attorney that's in your state, then you are a bona fide lunatic. It's a really bad idea. What we can provide, however, is general direction into maybe perhaps what you have in store leading into your divorce, maybe some of the psychology that goes into these situations, how you should handle it, whether or not maybe it's a good idea to get divorced or separated, or go through the entire, however you guys want to do it. My point is, do not view this as legal advice in any way, shape, or form unless you are sitting physically in my office or Ileana's office and explaining to me in privacy all of the different variables that are going on with your specific situation. Because short of that, I can't give you a professional opinion on anything. All of this is really just conjecture and speculation. But with that being said, this one person asked for advice. Been married for 12 years. Been together for 16 years. We have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. He has a third child between ours because he went back to an ex because I was hormonal. I was a hormonal 16-year-old having a baby, and he wasn't getting laid. Well, that's one way to put it. I did break up with him, but the math doesn't add up between our child and the other child. We officially got back together after our child in 2008 was born, and 3 months later, they had theirs in 2008. I was stupid, and he love-bombed the crap out of me. He does not see this other kid. We had our second kid 2 years later in 2010. Then we got married in 2011. Good choices. So after that, he became distant and all about work and money. I basically raised our kids as a single stay-at-home mom. He only helped out financially. He worked third shift since 2011, so he slept all day. Have you ever worked the graveyard shift, Ileana? Ever?
I did a couple of times when I was covering somebody when I used to work at the front desk of a hotel. And it pretty much wrecked my body, the time body.
I did it during undergrad. I worked as a security guard at like this trucking place. I hated it. It was the most boring job I've ever had. But either way, so we had to move into my parents' house around April of 2014 because we were supposed to buy their house, but we were living with my parents and 3 siblings, and I was the only one cleaning up after 10 people. He started an emotional affair with his best friend. He said things were too stressful for him and he needed an out. So he ended things with me while he was trying to figure out how to get to another state to be with her. But he needed to be physical, so he talked me into a sexual relationship. I was 22, and he was the first and only guy I ever loved. I would have done anything for him. I eventually asked for a divorce, and all of a sudden, he couldn't live without me. We moved into our own house in November of 2014, and things seemed good, but I was still very alone in the marriage and parenting. In 2016, he asked if we could try swinging. I thought I had to keep him happy. It made me sick to think of being with anyone else. It was awful and even more mentally damaging than I could have ever imagined. He emotionally, physically, and any other way possible cheated on me. He took liberties without asking, never communicated, and often guilt-tripped me or gaslit me. I hate to admit this, but I let it happen until 2018, and then I put an end to it because my mental health could not handle the manipulation and hurt anymore. I lost 2 incredible friends because him sleeping with them was more important than me not being alone. Later that year, I got a job first time and I loved it. I was the happiest I'd ever been. But he made me quit in 2019 because he started a new job and it was more important. Then COVID happened and something broke inside of me. In 2021, I had to leave because it got so bad that I was thinking bad thoughts. I asked him for 1 year to work on myself and figure out what I wanted. He gave me 3 months and texted me every single day about how he missed me and loved me. We never went on dates because he didn't see the point because we were already married, but all of a sudden, we needed them. I still don't understand that. What am I missing in that paragraph?
This is a toxic relationship, and I don't know what she's asking.
Is he the one that was asking to go on the dates? He gave me 3 months, text me every single day. We never went on dates. He didn't see the point because we're already married, but all of a sudden we needed them. I still don't understand. Okay. When I came back in January 22, he finally went to first shift. He was finally building a relationship with our kids for the first time. He started to help me with the chores and dinner for the first time. And we finally went on our first family trip. I finally had the husband I wanted. In January of 23, I was questioning my identity. I told him I might be trans. Jesus.
Oh, make it more interesting.
I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm whom I'm supposed to be. A few days later, he said he has been thinking and he thinks he's trans too.
Oh, okay.
I'm starting to think this is a put on.
I know.
I was baffled. He said we could do this journey together. That didn't feel right to me. All of a sudden, I was sharing clothes and makeup with my husband. I had a surgery in February and I had an injury in March. The entire time I was recovering, both times I had to emotionally take care of her. I bought her clothes, makeup, jewelry, you name it. I was the most supportive spouse. I gave her everything. I made her a bra to give her a chest. I bought her a wig, heels, stockings. I held her through her body dysmorphia, through every breakdown. I supported her when we told the boys. I supported her when we told her transphobic dad. I supported her through social transitioning. After all this, while ignoring my own mental turmoil, I believe in May I officially started to grieve my husband, but at the same time I was trying to make Katie happy. I got diagnosed with BPD, bipolar disorder. That was rough but eye-opening. I started sleeping in our garage because I just couldn't look at her. I couldn't tell you why, though. I just couldn't be in the same bed as her. And in September, I left again. I was so confused. I asked for a divorce. I just never expected what came next. I checked myself in a mental health hospital in October. While I was in there, I thought I got a handle on things, and I realized I was grieving my husband, and it was rough. We came up with the plan for me to go back and stay with her so I could be around my kids. I was not expecting her to tell me that she was now had a girlfriend. This was on the drive home from the mental hospital. That night, we made an agreement to not let the kids meet her until they were dating 6 months. The next few weeks, I'm not very proud of. Had many episodes, and I shoved her when she got in my face. I kept having to stay with my parents because long periods of exposure to her was messing with my head. The last time I went out to their house, it was a Sunday. I was supposed to go back to her house on Thursday. She knew I wouldn't be there on Monday. All right. So what is her question? I'm not getting help or support
other than renting
or nothing from my spouse, and I cannot find any legal help without filing by myself, and I don't understand half of what I'm reading. I have nowhere else to go. I live in Michigan. Yeah, which is a no-fault state. So, you want to tackle that one, Eliana?
I don't understand what she's asking.
Does she want to get divorced?
Yes, I guess you should, because this obviously is not working out, but other than that, everything that she just mentioned has absolutely nothing to do with or has any effect on the divorce.
No fault state. They treat that very much like California. Nobody cares about any of that. She wants to be trans. You want to be trans. You guys want to be swingers, or he wanted to be one and you didn't want to be one, and now her name is Rachel now, and you're grieving your husband. Can't help you with any of that. You want to get a divorce, then do it. You're going to have to figure out, of course, the custody and visitation aspect of that, but your children are older now. The fact that he had one without you prior back in 2008 really doesn't matter anymore. That child is 16 and long since gone. Those children are going to be fine. You want to get divorced now, then do it. All this other nonsense that you're dealing with, and whatever you're going. Look, you guys are going through things that are
Mm-hmm.
unique to both of you.
Right.
The husband that you married is been gone for a long time, and you put up with it for all of these years. So you don't get to all of a sudden call yourself the martyr, and you're just this saint because you put up with all of this and you sacrificed yourself. Yeah, you did all of those things. Good for you. And what has it got you? A broken marriage. Congratulations for all of that. I have nothing really to say. You want to get divorced? Get divorced. And hopefully it works out. And honestly, you probably should. That sounds like a nightmare for anybody to have to go through. And you should have left him way back when you were, 16 years old. So this is the first time you're going to be a grown person without having to deal with that person in your life. I'd imagine the fact that he's trans and now identifies as something else makes it that much more easier. There's no husband to go back to. So go find yourself a husband if you want to be with a man or a woman, or go experience life. The children are going to be fine. You're not asking any questions about assets, which is good. So that's, you know what? I'm not really going to touch that one any further than that. That's what it is. Do you got anything to tell that person?
No, I mean,
Best of luck to you. That's what I had to say. All right, so this next person is a man. I'm married, and my wife wants a divorce, and I have been fighting for my marriage, and things have gotten worse for me. And I don't know what steps to take. Me and my wife separated, but we're living together with her mom. Sounds like a nightmare of a scenario. We've lived with her for a while. My wife's attitude changed out of nowhere, it seemed. We have a year-old child, and to me, she's still my everything, and that's never going to change, sir. And I know some people are going to say I should let her go, but I feel like if I do, I'm going to be missing a whole lot with my son. And I feel like my son is going to be affected. But we separated, and I was living with my wife and her mom on my days off, and living with my brother when I had to work. And recently we all had a big blowout. And they kicked me out, leaving me stranded. They took the car keys and everything that was worth anything. My wife took my name off her phone plan. We had been together for years. We have a Jeep that I have been paying, but it's not in my name. And they kicked me out when it was my turn to have my son, and it was agreed that I'd have him so she can work. But we had a disagreement, and I didn't get to see him and finish my time with him. What I'm asking is, what can I do? My wife plans on lying for her mom. Plans on taking sole custody and the car. And pretty much everything. All I have out of this is I'm living with my brother with no car to get anywhere. I lost my job due to depression of our separation, as I was a correctional officer, and my marriage and managing to take the care of inmates was too difficult on me mentally, so I resigned. But all my money has been sent to her even after our separation, and I didn't save me a penny. I sent it all to her. Is there anything I should be doing? And when I said she plans on lying for her mom, and one night me and my wife had a disagreement, and she always brings her mom to take control of the situation, and I had enough and told her to stick to her business elsewhere, and she went over to me and grabbed my shirt while pulling it and made the neck stretch out. And then another time, the last time I lived with them, they kicked me out, so I go to take keys to drive to my brother's, but they keep me inside the house until I give them the key. So my wife went out back door with my son, took the spare key and the Jeep. As her mom was holding the door shut in the front, they tried taking my only form of communication, which is my iPad. My question is, she won't let me use the car, and it's under her name, but I've paid on it until I quit my job, and I'm not trying to take it away from her. I'm trying to use it to get places. Are there ways to fight for her to let me use it, or can I get her to pay me some money back, or have her help me co-sign for a car, which, what the hell? This guy lives in California. All right, what are you going to say to this guy, Elian? I got a lot to say. It's not going to be nice.
I know, there's just so much going on. Starters. I mean, I understand divorce is hard, but I hate it when they say that they had to quit their job because of going through a divorce. Most of the time, court's gonna be like, I don't care. You
Courts
find
don't
yourself.
care. Yeah. The world is a harsh and nasty place. What do you want to hug? Get
Yeah,
your ass back to work is what they're going to tell
exactly.
you. Yeah. So,
And in the beginning, that he didn't want to finish the relationship just because he wanted to spend time with the show. Like, that's just not. I mean, no. I mean, he needs to accept the fact that they're separating, they're going their own ways, and he needs to find some sort of, I guess, counsel, not, well, yeah, legal advice, I guess, so that he can understand what he can expect out of the divorce process. Because it seems to me that he is completely unaware of what he can get or not get or from this process. Like, for example, at the end where he says that get her to co-sign on a new car.
why?
No,
Yeah. Why would you do
that's
that? No. He needs to cut ties. The whole idea about
no,
living with a stepmom was a stupid idea. When he
exactly,
figured
yes.
out that she
And
wanted to
he
be with him way back when, he should have left back then.
exactly. So yeah, it's just he needs counseling, like just to accept what he's going through and the process. He needs to go back and get a job so that he can pay for his stuff and not depend on her for transportation or anything like that. And he needs legal advice so that he at least understand what he needs to expect from the process.
Well, here's a legal advice. Listen, buddy. Well, this isn't legal advice, but he needs to go sit with an attorney. But just generally speaking, the
Mm-hmm.
moment that he figured out that his wife, that they were separated, he should have just found his own way.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he chooses to live with mother-in-law. Obviously, that's going to stack the deck against him. Now he's just kind of the inconvenience
Mm-hmm.
that is living there. The only attachment that they have to him is the fact that he's father to the child. And look, it would be great if your wife didn't want a separation and you guys wanted to stay together and live happily ever after, but she doesn't.
Exactly.
And at some point, you need to pull your head out of your ass and get yourself together because nobody's going to take sympathy for the fact that you were being so noble as to try to hold this together. She doesn't want it. And so you need to grow up and sack up and find something else to do, another place to live. Go find yourself, I don't know, a girlfriend. Go file for a divorce and start going through the mindset that you're not going to be with this woman anymore. Hey, this lady has decided that your child is going to grow up with a broken home. You can't do anything to fix it. You can't force her to be with you. So you need to pull your head out of your ass and figure it out. And if you want to feel sorry for yourself, you can do that on your own time because nobody's going to be there to give you a hug. That's just the reality of it. If you were a female, if you're a man, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to say, oh, you poor, poor thing. Or they might say that, but they're not going to give you anything for it. What do you want? You want some Girl Scout cookies?
Those
Because,
are good.
I mean, well, they're pretty good. But look, buddy, your identity is attached to this marriage. But that is not what you're going to be anymore. And the more that you ruminate over it, the more that you want to live in denial. Nobody's giving you brownie points for sticking around. They clearly don't want you there. And so what do? You file for a divorce and you start filling out your income and expense declaration, figuring out your assets. They don't get to unilaterally decide who gets to be in and out of your child's house. But I'll tell you what they can do is set you up for a domestic violence situation. Like when you said mother-in-law was grabbing you by the shirt. How do you think that that's going to come out in court, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come out that you were being this drunken idiot and threatening everybody. And in self-defense, mother-in-law trying to shield your son and her daughter from your deranged behavior, defended them, and put herself in peril as a result of that. And what that's going to land you is a restraining order against you granted for a period of 5 years that will create a presumption on Family Code Section 3044 that says you should never have custody or visitation of your child that's not supervised unless you overcome this presumption, which then she will get full custody of the child. And that's how it's going to be. And you put yourself in that predicament because you chose to live there. So get yourself out of there as quickly as you can. Only communicate through them through writing. Have no physical interactions with them that aren't recorded, because very clearly to me, it looks to me like they have a clear objective, which is to take full custody of their child and leave you with what they're willing to give you. And you're walking right into their trap. If you don't do something right now, your future is going to be supervised visits once or twice a month for a couple of hours at a time until you figure out how to overcome a 3044 presumption, which will require you to take anger management classes, parenting classes that you probably don't need, a myriad of other different things, so that the court is sufficiently satisfied that you're no longer a danger to your child and that you could have unsupervised visitation with your child. But until then, you're going to pay a professional monitor something like $50 an hour to spend a couple of hours every other weekend with your child on a Sunday at some random park bench that nobody wants to be at. Good luck with that. That is your future. Or you could pull your head out of your ass right now and start taking action and start putting things in gear that protects your rights as a father, because if you don't, your child is going to grow up knowing that you abandoned him because your ex-wife, and start thinking of her as your ex-wife, is going to tell him that, and you ain't going to be around to correct the record. And that's all I really got to say to that young man. What do you think, Eliana? Am I being too harsh?
No, I don't think so. And I think this is the type of person that needs somebody to be harsh with him so that he can finally understand and accept what he's going through. Because if you are too soft on him, he's just going to continue with that same, I guess, behavior for me.
He needs to know that his ex-wife has probably already had sex with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other men. Whether or not that's true doesn't matter. He just needs to start thinking of it that way and react accordingly. Your wife is gone. She don't want you no more. You've been rejected. And now she's trying to reject you as a father. And you as a man, as a person, as anybody, if you wish to be a part of your child's life, can't let it happen. The finances will take care of themselves. It doesn't matter whose name is on what. But do not go about co-signing or asking her to co-sign for anything. Jesus.
No. He's probably going to say no anyway, but still.
I don't know, man. I just know that the way it's going, it's just not looking. The finances are the least of your problems, buddy. You got a lot bigger problems if you don't do something right now. So we'll leave him with that. We got time for one more. For one more. Let's see. All right. So I need some advice. In June, I caught my wife emotionally cheating, and she asked for a slow separation. We were in the middle.
What is that?
we were in the middle of an adoption process, and I ended up conceding to sticking with it. All right.
Oh, poor
Through
baby.
the months, I fought hard to attempt to keep the marriage together while she was secretly trying to see others. I lied to our state adoption worker, stating we were still together, and we basically acted happy. She put a time limit on me with the stipulation of having her fall in love with me again by the adoption time or we were officially done. I don't know. Eliana, if you were going about the business of trying to see other people, at what point do you think that you would fall back in love with the person you were cheating on with?
That's almost not possible. I mean, I know it has happened to people, but
I'm not sure that it has, honestly. It's
I
not the
mean, they will
way.
have to cut, they will have to cut off the other relationship and I guess go to therapy or something like that. But while still seeing the other person, I don't. That's not gonna happen.
So she wants to go basically sow her wild oats in the hopes that, well, I don't know. She's obviously looking for something better, and if she can't find something better, what? He's the backup plan?
I guess.
I don't know. Seems like a raw deal for him, but uh, that's a stupid stipulation. Either way. So I did everything I could. I changed my many facets of myself. I sold our home, bought her dream home, paid off our debts, all the while with the hope that we would make it. Through many downs, depression, anxiety, weight loss, and hopelessness, nothing happened and nothing worked. She remained steadfast that we were not together, yet made no effort to actually leave or separate with the children. Well, it's because it's convenient to be there, I guess. So fast forward to now. Now I am done. Now I want out, and she is seeing someone officially, and so am I. Well, good for you. Our finances are separate, and through much fighting, I had agreed to split the house bill 65-35 since I make more money so she can keep the home. I no longer sleep at the house. I still in the morning to take the kids to school, work. He still in the morning takes the kids to school, work remote in the house, and then pick the kids up. I put the kids to bed most days, grocery shop, manage the finances together, but I don't really live in the home. I want out, cannot keep the house individually, and she makes significantly less, but she refuses to agree to sell the home. She claims I gave her dream home and I am taking it from the kids and her, yet the dream and intent was clearly to save the marriage. She wants me to wait 6 months so she can more than double her income through multi-level marketing or some
Oh.
miracle promotion while I work forced overtime to make ends meet. I'm even willing to get a second job to have enough income to find a second place so I can have the kids with me. Since I do most of the kid work, I feel stuck. I live in California. What can I do? Well, I'll give you first dibs on that one, Eliana.
Oh my goodness. I mean, he needs to start the process of divorce, and I don't care about what or why or for what they bought the house. It just needs to be divided, like it or not.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They need to establish a date of separation. That's going to be the
That
most
too.
difficult part of it. So, arguably, the date of separation was when he caught her emotionally cheating, but maybe not. She said they were separated. Those are triable issues. Why does that matter? Because it puts
Mhm.
an end date on the marriage and defines the length of the marriage. It doesn't say, he didn't say how long they've been married for, or maybe I missed it.
I don't remember you mentioning it.
I don't think he did. So that's going to affect, clearly, she's going to be asking for alimony. He makes more. He didn't say how much more, but alimony is going to be a thing. Child support is going to be a thing. Child custody and visitation is probably going to be close to 50-50. He's doing most of the kid stuff, is what he says. So he must have a job that allows him the pliability and schedule to make that happen. So if he has to pay child support at all, it's not going to be a hugely large amount because he's going to be actively involved, which is a good thing. The assets, it really doesn't matter who. If you guys can't, if one of the other can't afford to buy the other out, then the house is going to get sold. That's going to be the final order of the judge. And so the reasons why the house were bought doesn't matter. It's clearly community property. So if it's community property, you guys are going to sell it and split the proceeds. Simple. Simple. If she wants to keep it, then she could buy you out. And if she can't do that, well, then tough S.
Mhm.
As far as everything else, all of the other assets are going to be split down the middle. Yeah, this just seems like his biggest mistake. Your biggest mistake was sitting over here thinking that, oh, we're definitely going to get separated and she's just going to work on herself. Buddy, she was over there looking for something better. She was tired of you. And that's just how it is. Hey, the reality is in marriage, it just most of the time it doesn't work out the way that you hoped. especially if you got married when you were super young, especially if you got married and you weren't fully developed, or one of you was not ready to be married. What I've noticed about these marriages and people coming to us, and really just in our own separate practices, is everybody wants it to be acknowledged how miserable they are in the marriage, both
Mhm.
man and woman. If I were to have
Mhm.
this woman in my office, she would be telling me about what a terrible marriage it is and how much she's sacrificed and tried with this guy, and he just can't do, he's not doing whatever. And so now she's miserable and she wants out. And she would have her own story to tell. And she would want me to acknowledge all of the perils that she's going through in this marriage. And this guy is no different. He wants to be the hero because he's the one trying to keep it together, and he bought her this house or whatever. Fine. But the reality of it is, in California, nobody cares whose fault it is. You guys are people. It didn't work out.
Mhm.
She's not a terrible mom. You're not a terrible dad. And, the kids are going to be hopefully very lucky to have two parents that are deeply invested in their future. And they'll
Mhm.
adjust. They'll figure it out. The money part of it is easy. Now, the longer that you guys, this 65-35 thing that you talked about in terms of bills doesn't really matter a whole lot unless we're going to do Epstein and Watts credits. And those are, a perilous journey that most family law attorneys in California don't like to litigate because it's stupid. It's a lot easier to just look, we'll just cut it 50-50. Otherwise,
Mhm.
we're going to nickel and dime. And really, what Epstein and Watts credits are worth is not really all that significant when it comes to the total amount of equity. So, you can litigate that if you want to. Maybe it's worth something, probably not. But hey, just cut your losses, man. File for divorce, get yourself a good California attorney, get yourself a good, probably free consult, and figure out what your rights are. Figure out what assets are going to go where. But likely it's going to be this. You guys are going to sell and split the house. Who cares what the purposes of it were for? Nobody cares that she had an affair. Nobody cares what the reasons were behind it. It's just we need to figure out now how you guys are going to exist going beyond and forward. And that's really it. That's it. What else you got to say to this guy, Eliana?
Well, not only to this guy, but I think the public in general, because this is something that I see a lot in practice, is that whenever there's a house involved and there's children, there's always this excuse that they want the house to be for the children,
Yeah.
or leave it to the children, or that was the purpose when they bought it, to eventually leave it to them. And I can tell you that most of the time, the children can care less
They really can't.
about, like, me right now. My mom is one of those that she's like, oh, I want to leave you guys, me and my brother, with the house and this and that. And me and my brother could care less. Like, I mean, if we get the house, we're probably just gonna sell it and get the money. So might as well sell it now, enjoy that money.
Yeah.
Do maybe put it in a trust account or something like that. But the house per se, like the physical structure, most children could care less. This is more of a, I guess, this notion that marriages have, that they should leave their children with something. I don't know.
Well,
But
sometimes like we'll work it out to where you want the kids to live in the house while you're going to school because it's close to whatever the high school, whatever. Fine, you can do that. And sometimes you can even do that in lieu of child support. You can work
that
that
too.
out if you really
Yeah,
wanted to do
there's
that.
expenses. Yeah. Mhm.
But you also don't have to agree to that. If you don't want to worry about it, then just sell the friggin' thing. That's the easiest thing to do, and that's all the judge is going to say. There's not really a winning case in that. Um,
Mhm.
you want to keep it, you can't afford to do it. So, what's it to you, buddy? So, yeah, this is a pretty straightforward divorce. It sucks that he's going through this. It sucks that you wanted it to work and it's not. It sucks that she had an affair, but hey, life moves on. Such is the nature of divorce and your illusions of trying. I mean, luckily, he's not under this illusion anymore. It's not going to work out. So, look, um, it doesn't matter. She doesn't want to sell it. The judge is going to make her when push comes to shove. And you might not even have to get that far. Chances are, if you get an attorney, she's going to get an attorney, and her attorney is going to tell her that. And then you guys are going to come to an agreement, and you won't even have to go in front of the judge because it's a waste of time and money. What are we fighting for? And
Exactly.
so, yeah, that's all I really have to say to this gentleman. And that's going to wrap up our segment of Family Law After Dark. For those of you that spent the entire 2.5 hours with us, thank you so much for listening all the way from start to finish. I really appreciate you. Let me know what you think in the comments about the advice that we gave to these folks. Let me know in the comments about what you think about the chances of Scott Peterson's appeal being granted based on everything that we said, or just your thoughts in general. We'd love to hear them. And with all of that, I guess we will see you guys next week when we cover, what are we going to cover, Eliana?
I don't know. I mean,
Vander
the
Ark is on deck.
yes, and the other case that I've been following closely is the Ruby Frankie.
Oh, we've been getting a lot of requests for that one as well. It's either
But at the
gonna,
same time, like there's not much to discuss. They pled guilty, and like the evidence is out there. Yes, it's gruesome and it's a very sad case, but I don't think there's much legally to discuss
oh,
in
they've been
that case.
sentenced. I mean, I think the shocking part of it is that
Mhm.
they were sentenced to basically 60 years, but under Utah sentencing guidelines, it's going to be like a max of 15, and they could be out as early as 4.
Yeah, they were cuckoo, especially Judy.
Yeah, we might talk about the case. We've covered it before. Well, in a miniature segment. You never know. We'll see. You guys let me know what you want us to cover in the comments, and we will be happy to do that. But until then, it's been a wild morning with all of you. We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.